about linear equation of a differential equation. Now, how do you know that an equation is a differential equation is linear? Okay, by it's always in this form, a linear form: y prime plus p of x y. Okay, function of x together with y. Okay, then is equal to another function of x that doesn't have y. So that is a linear equation. So if you see that if this one coming to this place, see that they are now being separated with either addition or subtraction, so it is not separable. Okay, and it is not homogeneous, because though the power might be 1 in some cases, but it does not have a denominator. Okay, so let's solve this. Once you have a linear equation like this is the simplest form of a differential equation. The only thing you do is to get what is called the integrating factor, and integrating factor is equal to the e raised power the integral of that p of x dx. That's all. Then your answer, the solution becomes just y dot integrating factor is equal to integral of what? Q of x dot integrating factor dx. That's all. Once you get integrating factor, just say that the solution becomes y times that integrating factor you've gotten is equal to the integral of q of x times integrating factor dx. That's all. So let us solve question for you to understand what we are saying. So a question here said that y prime, okay, y prime plus 5y, okay, is equal to e raised to power 2x. So let us solve this. The first thing you will do is we'll get our p of x. What is your p of x? P of x is just the coefficient of y here, which is what? 5. And what is my q of x? My q of x is what? The right hand side, which is what? 2 raised to power x. But before you get all these things, make sure that the coefficient of y prime must be 1 before you get your p of x and q of x. So the next thing you are getting is your integrating factor. And integrating factor is e raised to power the integral of what? P of x dx, which is equal to what? E raised to power the integral of what? 5 dx, which is equal to what? E raised to power integration of 5 is what? 5x. So your answer is simply y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of what? Q of x dot integrating factor dx. So my answer is now what? Y times integrating factors e raised to power 5x is equal to what? Integral of q of x is e raised to power 2x times e raised to power 5x dx. So according to indices, y dot e raised to power 5x is equal to integral of e raised to power this plus this 7x dx. Okay, so I'm having y dot e raised to power 5x is equal to what? E raised to power 7x over 7 plus a constant, and that is that. You can decide to divide everybody by e raised to power 5x so that y can stay alone. So y is equal to what? E raised to power 7x all over 7 e raised to power 5x plus c over e raised to power what? 5x. So I'm having y is equal to e raised to power 2x over 7, because this minus this is 2x, plus c e raised to power what? Minus 5x. So this is the solution to that differential equation. So number 2, you see, as simple as that. Number 2, says that y prime minus y is equal to x. Okay, so let's do that. You tell them that what? P of x is just the coefficient of y, which is what? Minus y minus 1, and the q of x is just the right hand side, which is x. So the only thing we need to get is what? Our integrating factor, which is what? E raised to power the integral of p of x dx, which is what? E raised to power the integral of minus 1 dx, which is what? E raised to power minus x, because the integral of minus 1 is minus x. So the solution becomes y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of what? Q of x dot integrating factor dx. So what am I having? Y dot e raised to power minus x is equal to the integral of what? X dot e raised to power minus x dx. Okay, so now let us now solve this. If you look at this, this is product of two functions, and product of two functions give birth to what is called integration by parts. So integrating this thing, I'm having the integral of x e raised to the power minus x dx. So I need to get this answer. This is equal to, don't forget that integration by parts, let me do it here. Let me do it here. The integral of x e raised to the power minus x dx. Don't forget that integration by parts said integral of v du is equal to uv minus integral of what? U dv. Okay? Or let me use u dv first. U dv, then v du. Okay? Now, how do you get u? You get u by an algorithm that says ladies like pets. Ladies like pets. Ladies like pets. Okay? So ladies like pets means that u, if there is logarithm there, that u will be logarithm. If there is polynomial, u will be polynomial before exponential, before trigonometry. So I'm having polynomial and exponential, and polynomial comes first before exponential. So my u will now be that polynomial, which is x, and then my dv will now be the other one, which is e raised to power minus x. So to get du is to differentiate this thing, which is 1, and to get v is to integrate this thing, which is e raised to power minus x all over minus 1, which is minus e raised to power minus x. Okay, so substitute here to have integral of u, which is x, dv, which is e raised to power minus x dx, is equal to uv, which is minus x e raised to power minus x minus the integral of what? V du. This is my v minus e raised to power minus x du. The u is 1, so the x. So my answer is now the integral of x e raised to power minus x dx is equal to what? Minus x e raised to power minus x. Okay, minus the integration of this is minus e raised to power minus x all over minus 1, then plus the constant. So minus will take care of minus. So I'm having that the integral of x e raised to power minus x dx is equal to minus x e raised to power minus x, then minus what? E raised to power minus x plus the constant. So then put it here. So my solution becomes y dot e raised to power minus x is equal to what? Minus x e raised to power minus x minus e raised to power minus x plus a constant. So that is the solution to that. So if you don't remember how to do integration by parts, please go back to my video on integration to learn that. Okay, so number 2. Number 2 says xy prime plus y, okay, is equal to x cubed. Okay, so let us do this. It's very, very simple. So what do we do? I told you that before you get your x and y, that the coefficient of y prime must be 1. So let's divide everybody by x. Divide by x to have y prime plus what? Y over x is equal to what? X squared. I divided everybody by x. So from here, my p of x is now what? 1 over x, which is the coefficient of y, and my q of x. My q of x is equal to what? The right hand side, which is what? S squared. So the only thing I need to get is now the integrating factor, which is what? E raised to power the integral of p of x dx, which is what? E raised to power the integral of p of x is 1 over x dx, which is what? E raised to power integration of 1 over x is what? Ln x. And ln is the opposite of exponential. So I'm left with what? Just x. So my integrating factor is just x. So the solution is what? Y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of q of x dot integrating factor dx. So I'm having y dot x is equal to the integral of x dot x squared dx. So I'm having y dot x is equal to what? The integral of what? X raised to power 3 dx. So the final solution becomes yx is equal to what? X what? X raised to power 4 over 4 plus a constant. So that is that. If you divide everybody by x, I'm having y is equal to x raised to power 3 over 4 plus c x raised to power minus 1. So that is that for that. Okay, so let's solve the next question, number 3. Number three says I'm having that y prime is equal to, y prime plus, they say cot x, okay, y cot x, okay, is equal to cos x. Okay, so since y, the quotient of y prime is 1, so I can go straight to get that my p of x is the quotient of y here, which is what? Cot x. Okay, and my q of x is equal to what? Cos x. So the next thing is the integrating factor, which is the e raised power the integral of p of x dx, which is what? E raised power the integral of what? Cot x dx, which is equal to what? E raised power. Now cot means, this is the integral, cot means cos over sine. So, and if you differentiate sine, you are getting cos. So it means ln the denominator, which is sine x. Okay, ln the denominator. Are you getting that? So which means ln is opposite of exponential. So I'm left with what? Sine x. So then my answer is now y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of what? Q of x dot integrating factor dx. So what do I have now? Y times sine x is equal to the integral of cos x sine x dx. Okay, so what do I have now? This is y dot sine x is equal to, now don't forget that if you differentiate this and you're getting the one beside it, your answer is what? 1 over 2 that one you differentiated all squared plus a constant. If you did not know, if you don't know this, please go back to my video on differentiation. So sine x is equal to what? 1 over 2 sine squared x plus a constant. Okay, so that is that for that. Okay, so you can decide to divide everybody by sine x if you wish. Okay, the next question, number 4. Number 4 says x plus 1 y prime plus y is equal to x plus 1 squared. Okay, so let's divide everyone by x plus 1 so that the quotient of y prime will be 1. So we are dividing by x plus 1. So divide this by x plus 1, I'm having y prime remaining, plus 1 over x plus 1 y prime, okay, is equal to x plus 1. I hope you know, because x plus 1 squared divided by x plus 1 is remaining x plus 1. So since my y prime is now 1, to get my p of x will now be 1 over x plus 1, and my q of x is now x plus 1. So I know my integrating factor says e raised to power the integral of p of x dx, which is what? E raised to power the integral of 1 over x plus 1 dx, which is what? E raised to power ln x plus 1. So, and ln is opposite of exponential, so I'm left with x plus 1. So since I'm left with x plus 1, so my answer becomes, the solution becomes y dot integrating factor is equal to what? Integral of q of x dot integrating factor dx. So I'm left with what? Y bracket x plus 1 is equal to the integral of q of x is x plus 1, and integrating factor is still x plus 1 dx. So I'm left with what? Y in bracket of x plus 1 is equal to the integral of x plus 1 all squared, okay, dx. So you can, if you don't know how to integrate this, you can open the bracket. So I'm having y bracket x plus 1 is equal to x plus 1 all raised to power 3 over 3 plus the constant. Okay, so that is that for that. The next question, number 5. So I can clean number 5. Number 5 says xy prime minus 5y is equal to x raised to power 7. Okay, so what do we do? Divide by x now to have y prime minus 5 over x y is equal to what? Is equal to what? X raised to power 7. So my p of x is equal to minus 5 over x. My q of x is equal to x raised to power 7. My integrating factor is now e raised to power the integral of p of x dx, which is what? E raised to power the integral of minus 5 over x dx, which is what? E raised to power minus 5 first before the integral of 1 over x dx. So which is what? E raised to power minus 5 ln x. So according to logarithm, that minus 5 will go to the back. So my integrating factor is now e raised to power ln x raised to power minus 5. So ln is opposite of exponential, so I'm left with x raised to power minus 5. Okay, so my answer becomes y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of q of x dot integrating factor dx. So I'm having what? Y dot x raised to power minus 5 is equal to the integral of x raised to power 7 dot x raised to power minus 5 dx. So I'm having y dot x raised to power minus 5 is equal to integral of x raised to power 2 dx according to law of indices. So I'm having y dot x raised to power minus 5 is equal to what? 1 over 3 x raised to power 3 plus a constant. So that is that. Number 6. Number 6 says 1 minus x squared y prime minus xy is equal to 1. So divide everybody by 1 minus x squared. So I'm having y prime minus x over 1 minus x squared. Okay, y is equal to what? 1 over 1 minus x squared. Okay, so I'm having that what am I having? I'm having that my p of x is equal to minus x over 1 minus x squared. Okay, and my q of x is equal to 1 over 1 minus x squared. Okay, so let's continue. My integrating factor is now e raised to power the integral of p of x dx, which is equal to what? E raised to power the integral of minus x over 1 minus x squared. Okay, dx. So I'm having if you differentiate the denominator, I'm having minus 2, and that minus 2 is at the denominator, so I'm having e raised to power minus 2 first, then ln okay, just 2, and it's at the denominator, so I'm having 1 over 2 ln the denominator, which is 1 minus x squared. So my integrating factor is now e raised to power what? Ln 1 minus x squared all raised to power 1 over 2. So I'm left with, ln is opposite of exponential, so I'm left with 1 minus x all raised to power 1 over 2. Okay, so the solution becomes y dot integrating factor is equal to the integral of q of x dot integrating factor dx. So what do you have? So we are left with y dot 1 minus x all raised to power 1 over 2, okay, is equal to the integral of q of x, which is 1 over, okay, sorry, there is squared here. So there is squared here. So 1 over 1 minus x squared multiplied by 1 minus x squared all raised to power 1 over 2 dx. Okay, so according to indices, I'm having that this is half minus this, so I'm having minus half. So I'm having 1 minus x squared all raised to power minus 1 over 2 dx. So let's check if there's any mistake somewhere. Okay, so I'm having y bracket 1 minus x squared all raised to power 1 over 2. So y bracket 1 minus x squared all raised to power 1 over 2 is equal to the integral of 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared dx. Okay, so this is trigonometry. I think it's sine. I think is it sine? Yes, sine inverse. So this is y bracket 1 minus x squared 1 over 2 is equal to 1 over this. Integration of that is what? Sine inverse of that x plus a constant. So that is the result. You can check the standard derivatives I gave, standard integrals I gave you in my video on integration, so you understand how this become sine inverse. Okay, number 7. Number 7 says number 7, and that is the last we are going to solve here. Number 7 says x minus 2 y prime minus y is equal to x minus 2 raised to power 3. Okay, so let us divide. I'm having y prime minus 1 over x minus 2 y is equal to x minus 2 all raised to power 2. Okay, divide everybody by x minus 2. So my p of x is now minus 1 over x minus 2, while my q of x is now x minus 2 all squared. Okay, so what do we do now? My integrating factor is now e raised to power the integral of minus 1 over x minus 2 dx, which is equal to what? E raised to power minus the integral of 1 over x minus 2 dx, which is what? E raised to power minus ln x minus 2. Okay, so integrating factor is equal to e raised to power x minus 2 raised to power minus 1. Don't forget the ln, and ln is opposite of exponential, so my answer is x minus 2 all raised to power minus 1. So because this minus 1 will go back to this place before logarithm cancel exponential. So what do we have now? So since I've gotten my integrating factor, my answer becomes y dot integrating factor is equal to integral of what? Q of x dot integrating factor dx. So I'm having y times x minus 2 all raised to power minus 1 integral of x minus 2 all raised to power 2 bracket x minus 2 all raised to power minus 1 dx. So y dot x minus 2 all raised to power minus 1 is equal to the integral. Indices, this minus this will give you x minus 2 all raised to power 1 dx. So I'm having what? 1 over 2 bracket x minus 2 all squared plus a constant. So that is that. Okay, thank you very much for watching. In our next video we'll talk about Bernoulli equation. Bernoulli equation.